The United States has raised with Turkey the question of the possibility of Ankara transferring its Russian S-400 missile defense systems to Ukraine to help it fight the invading Russian forces. As per reports, senior U.S. officials made the proposal to their Turkish counterparts last month, but no specific or formal request was made. Sources added that the request was mentioned during a visit to Turkey by U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman earlier this month. This is an interesting idea, to say the least. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes how the proposed transfer of Russian-made S-400 by Turkey to Ukraine could be a game-changer from multiple aspects. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. NordVPN is a premium VPN service available for macOS, iOS, Windows, and Android, with more than 5,400 servers in 60 countries. Your privacy is vulnerable to factors like data logging by internet service providers, and NordVPN is known for its zero-log policy. Your local content can be blocked based on your geolocation while traveling. For example, your favorite TV series can be limited to your local region when you're abroad. A VPN or virtual private network can help you to protect your privacy through an encrypted connection to its servers. With a broad range of servers in various countries, you can access websites that are not available in other countries. Also, it stops invasive trackers on browsers and scans URLs to warn users about malicious websites. Use the link in the description to get 71% off the 2-year plan, plus a gift from NordVPN. At the checkout, use the code DEFENSE to get an extra month for free. S-400 Triumph air defense weapon system, developed by Russia's Almaz Central Design Bureau in the 1990s as an upgrade of the S-300 family, has been in service with the Russian Armed Forces since 2007. It is designed to defend against aircraft, including fifth-generation stealth fighters, bombers, AWACS, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. It's considered one of the most potent air defense systems in the world. S-400 air defense is a package consisting of radar, command and control center, and interceptor missiles. It can track hundreds of targets at a time, engage up to 36 targets simultaneously, and launch 72 missiles parallelly. S-400 uses multiple radars depending on threat perception. The primary one is either the 91 N6E Big Bird Acquisition and Battle Management Radar or 92 N6E Gravestone Multi-Mode Engagement Radar. These have a range of around 600 kilometers or 370 miles. The main radar is complemented by target acquisition radars like 67 N6 Gamma D, some of which have the ability to detect stealth aircraft. S-400 deploys multiple missiles to cover its strike envelope. For example, it has 9M96E missile with a short range of 40 kilometers or 25 miles, 9M96E2 missile with a medium range of 120 kilometers or 75 miles, 48N6 missile with a long range of 250 kilometers or 155 miles, and 40N6 missile with very long range 400 kilometers or 250 miles. In July 2017, Turkey signed the deal to acquire the S-400 air defense system from Russia. Turkey started getting the deliveries of S-400 components from 2020. Turkey had insisted that since it currently had Cold War-era surface-to-air missile system, it required an upgrade, and S-400 fit in perfectly. The United States NATO, and members of the Joint Strike Fighter program were all concerned that S-400 would be able to gather technical data, such as radar signature of F-35s, if Turkey operates the jets in the airspace, which is monitored by S-400. This could potentially pass onto Russian hands and give them an unprecedented edge in future conflicts. In addition, having the S-400 linked into Turkish defense networks could potentially give Russian analysts access to sensitive information that passes through the cloud-based, multinational Autonomic Logistics Information System (ALIS) system of F-35s. ALIS has critical mission data and flight routes. Turkey was eventually ejected from the F-35 program. The country had about 100 F-35s on order and was also responsible for manufacturing several components for the jet. For Ukraine, S-400 would have far-reaching implications. NATO has rejected calls from Ukraine to impose a no-fly zone over the country. A no-fly zone would bar all unauthorized aircraft from flying over Ukraine. Declaring a no-fly zone could force NATO pilots to shoot down Russian aircraft. Technically, it would mean taking the risk of a direct military conflict with Russia and a potential nuclear exchange. But S-400 could solve this purpose, as it's an anti-access, area denial system with very long strike envelope. Aging S-300 has been responsible for downing many Russian aircraft, and S-400 could inflict heavy toll on Russian fighters. For Turkey, this will mean it can get back into the F-35 program and maintain interoperability of its systems with the fellow NATO countries. It would also be provided with air defense system from the West. Ankara had tried to revive the defense relations with Washington by forwarding demand for Lockheed Martin-made Viper-class F-16 jets worth $1.4 billion, which was already paid for the F-35, the delivery of which was never received by Ankara. But Washington stood to its stance on not reversing any decision until Ankara removed all the S-400 from its soil. For the US and NATO, it will be a big win, since S-400 will be able to provide Ukraine with air cover and also stop a NATO member from drifting towards Russia. A key aspect to any modern-day combat is gaining air superiority by knocking out opposing air forces and disabling ground-based air defenses. Since Russia has a 10-to-1 advantage in aircrafts, it was expected that it will quickly dominate the skies. But the Russian Air Force seems to be failing in its mission. Not only is the Ukrainian Air Force operating both manned and unmanned platforms successfully, even after 3 weeks, but many Russian fixed-wing aircraft and a like number of helicopters have been downed. The losses include even strike aircraft, like Su-34. The Pentagon has stated that some Russian jets are avoiding Ukraine's airspace during sorties because of the fear of being shot down. In this situation, introduction of S-400 would make aerial operation very difficult for Russia. Also, S-400 can take down cruise missiles like Caliber and short-range ballistic missiles like Iskander that are being deployed by Russia.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.